Hi there. This is a short video in which we're going to deal with the exact technique that you have to use in your assignment 11 that is working with 3D shapes, and that is creating a soda can, ideally with a label that has been mapped. We know how to do it the old way. We have plenty of videos from the beginning of CC to Illustrator CC 2018, 2019. But we know that Illustrator has a new interface with a slight variations. The tools are very similar, but the interface is different, and the new feature is that you can work with materials. So today I'm going to show you how to create this assignment very easily with the new 3D interface and the new 3D tools. Remember that when I go to Effect, now I have 3D and materials, and I have those are all the new tools. Here you can find the old one. Now, my experience is that if in the same file, I try to use the new 3D tools and what they call now classic 3D tools, it will give me an error. So I'm trying to do everything with the new ones, and it's actually very nice. So right before, I want to add this. I push a couple of shortcuts and I completely rotated my canvas. And I was very worried because I know how to correct that in, for example, in Adobe Anime, that is Command 0, but it doesn't work like that. And I even had to watch a video to see how to come back. So there's a new tool called Rotate View Tool that would allow you to do that. What happened is I push some kind of combination that I still don't even know what it is. Let me see if it tells me. Shift H. So I might have done that and just rotate and didn't know how to come back. Now, I was already in this case scenario, and I said, what do I do now? And look, it's giving me, I don't know if you see that it's giving me exactly the angle that I'm now. I want to go just to this one. Okay. And remember, you're not going to see it to begin with because you can see the hand tool. Okay. Back to our case scenario. Olivia, shout out to Olivia. Thank you so much. She did a very, very nice assignment, and I'm going to be using her artwork in order to explain this. So what we want to achieve is something like that. So why do we want the label to be mapped to the Revolve, to the 3D surface? Because when the label it's on a plane that is circular, there's constant deformation. The more that you get to the sides, the more deformation. And on top of that, the 3D effect is giving you the benefit of beautiful lighting and change. And if the label has been mapped, it would also be subject to those highlights and those shades. So the ideal case scenario, if you're doing a 3D effect and you want something mapped there, in this case is the label. But think that in any type of 3D Revolve, you could be mapping something. And that's a pretty interesting thing. Like, who knows? No, I might be going to have like faces on the surface of the cherry because this is another Revolve. Or, who knows what I want to have there. Okay. So remember that right now, this is an element that has a 3D effect applied to it. I can come here to the appearance and I can say, for now, I don't want to see the effect. And if you don't see the effect, this is like Cinderella. The carriage becomes a whole bunch of mouses and animals carrying a pumpkin. So you see the original, and the original artwork is the section of the can. In this case, because we want to see the lid, the upper part in a different color and the lower part in a different color, we're just creating it in a different color. In some examples, I've showed you that we would blend it. In this one, you see that it's just there. But the fascinating thing is that by the time the Revolve comes, we're not even going to see that little edge. Okay, so this is what we begin with. I'm canceling this one to not have two 3D effects at the same time in the same file, because you guys know that 3D effects can delay the performance of Illustrator and of your computer. So you have to be careful with what you're asking. Especially don't move something that already has a 3D effect, because then it has to transport all those calculations from one place to the other. So this is my beginning element. I'm going to select it with the black arrow. I don't need the appearance right now. And I'm going to go to Effect, Revolve, in the new ones, Revolve. The good thing about this new interface is that once you're in this window, I could actually change what is the type of effect that I want. I could change into a plane, that would be doing, look, quite a different thing, into an extrude, that would just giving it depth, into an inflate, becomes like a pouch or like a toothpaste container, or I can do my revolve. Once I have my revolve, notice that it's completely straight, no change. And the beautiful thing about working with 3D is that you can change a little the plane. And I talked about it in my other one, but I want you to think. X is this. So when you move in X, you're doing this, okay? Like, think of it like going up and going down. So when I move on X, I'm going up and I'm going down. But then I can also move on Y. And Y is vertical. So I'm doing these and these. So maybe I'm going to move a little bit. And I would have wanted this to go also, yes. Sometimes it's nice to have it like that. Why? Because this area has less detail than the lid. The lid will have to begin inserting other elements, and that can be complicated. So we're going for an easy one. So I have an interesting position, but I still don't have lighting, isn't it? So remember that I have object, materials, and lighting. I'm going to do a tiny bit of lighting. So I generally don't like white lights because they're very cool. It's like they're cold. Cool is like a positive adjective. Let's call it cold. Like being in a kitchen with fluorescent light, isn't it? Like, oh. So let's make a light that is a little bit warmer. And then the amazing thing is that you can define what type of light you want that complements the artwork that you like. I like it like a very light yellow, or in this case, because we're dealing with pinks, maybe a light pink could also do a nice job. So there we go. Now we need more intensity of light. Let me see, what we're doing right now is we're in a 3D space. Imagine that you have a light and we are making it rotate. To begin with, the light is in front. But if I rotate the light, now it's hitting the can in a different way. And now you have to be very careful because when you're changing the light, you're also changing how the shadow is going to work. I don't want shadow right now because I'm interested in the label. And I don't want to have so many things being calculated. Softness would also make it very nice, but it would make it calculate more. So we're going to leave it there. I could even, if you want, I'm going to, for a second, let's activate shadows. So you see what's going on. And as I change rotation, do you see that the shadow is changing? Now, I can calculate my shadow behind my object, or I can change it and say that I want it below my object. Now, in this case, below, when the element is seen from this weird space, I'm not going to see it below because I'm seeing the bottom. So let's change to the behind. And that is quite strange. Then I can also say how far away I want it. Now it's already looks like very extended because remember that I've rotated my light and I have it on the side, isn't it? And it also depends on how I have rotated my element in the world. So maybe we're going to want this shadow, maybe not. If I increase softness, I have the feeling that the shadow also becomes more transparent. I don't want to move it right now because I don't want to calculate more. So this is an idea about how to work with shadows, but we take it out. So let's go to the label. So Olivia created here this beautiful label that is made of two elements. One is kind of like the icon for the company, and the other one is like a bar with a flavor, and I've created another one. It is important that when you have your element that is going to be a label, you group it together, and then you make it a symbol. Now, how do you make something a symbol? is not that complicated. Let me make it some other color that we can see it very, very well. Something like that. And all I have to do is drag it. And the moment I drag it, it tells me, what is the name of this? I'm going to call it test. And it becomes an element here in the symbol panel. Now, it's going to be important in a second. So I'm going to come back to my element, select it. Yes, this is, be careful with these 3D materials. If you have several elements with 3D effects, you could think that you have the parameters of this guy, but this guy is not selected. You still have another shape selected, and you're actually messing up the 3D effect of the other one. So how can you make sure? Just close it, come back to appearance. This is my effect. And from here, click on effects. And then my correct panel, the one that pertains to this object, appears. So let's go quickly to materials. So materials, the other day I showed you materials here. This is for when you want to have texture on this element. If you want, let's go crazy and let's make an Oxford fabric can. Where we go with this? It looks like a cleaning product. So this is not what we want. How do I take out the material? Come back to my base material. But in the materials tab, there's another tab, sub-tab that is called graphics. And what I see here is my symbols. So if I click, for example, on this one, appears here and appears inside a lovely circle that is going to allow me, apply it in a different position or even scale it. So for example, I want a little bit smaller. And now you see the difference between putting something on top and using it with this mapping. You have to think that when we're talking about the materials, like that crazy texture that I gave, materials is a form of mapping. You are already taking a texture that is flat, and you're making it follow the shape of the 3D. So not only you can put it like that, it gives you, it respects the shadows, it adapts really, really well. But the good thing is that you can even have several elements. Here I have the new one. And do you see how it is going towards the side? Now we're seeing that the one that you go later would be on top of the other one, isn't it? Let me go like that. Oh, yes. I wanted to know if it would go following that shape, and it does. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so this is how you map an element to your 3D surface. You can do several. I have to tell you that I haven't tried having a texture and then putting the label. I leave it up to you, so you can begin testing out those things. And I could come back and maybe readjust. Espera, I need to reselect my effect. Did you see how I was not seeing the parameters? Because what was selected was the label. Come back here, and then here I can say, what I want to happen. I like that one also, because now we're making less emphasis on the lower part and more emphasis on the can itself. I also like that version. And then now that we have everything, let's risk it. And let's say that we also want shadows. And there it is. And it's not bad. Okay. Now, last thing. This is all looking cute and everything. I actually like a lot that this is in shadow, and I see a little bit here. Let me see. No, it's cute. I can see a little bit there. You know that when I like something, immediately I take a snapshot so I can come back and reproduce it. And what I wanted to tell you is that if you want to see it really, really beautiful, we can, let me for a second, select it again and say that I want shadow bar and softness. I don't know if I'm like shooting myself on the foot, but I'm going for a value that is more difficult. I can come here, that little thing, Show it. Oh, I was already thinking. Okay. What I can set there is ray tracing. I have the feeling that okay. Let's see. Ray tracing. What is ray tracing? Ray tracing is a way of rendering in 3D that calculates the shadows from the object, the shadows that are thrown onto another plane. That is like a very high level. And I should know better, that when you say shadow bounds and softness, you're increasing what it has to think. And I pushed it, and here I have the result. I'm dealing with Zoom at the same time that I'm dealing with Adobe Illustrator. And, yesterday I couldn't, it got stuck exactly at that point. And in 5 minutes, it hadn't gone anywhere. But, it's good that happens to me. So then you know that it can happen to you. So when you push ray tracing, you're going to take options and you're going to have to say, yes, I want it like that, render. Don't go too crazy. Work on this assignment when the computer is fresh and starting. And those are my recommendations, my advice for this assignment. This way of working with material makes it much, much easier. Okay, I'll talk to you later.